Hey guys, and welcome to Experimental Reality. I'm Josh. I'm here with Luke and Cheyenne.
Hey.
And we're going to be talking, well, it's our first podcast, so we're going to be talking about what our show is, how we got here, what we're going to go with it. I don't know. Just kind of chill, have a discussion.
Talk about the road so far, the road ahead, and the road construction. I don't know, whatever comes to mind.
As long as the road works ahead.
I hope it does.
I was just going to say no vines, please, and then Cheyenne.
Oh, no, there's definitely going to be vines.
Bring vines into this. All right.
All of the vines.
Yeah, vine. We will single-handedly resurrect Vine for everyone.
We're here for you, Vinomaniacs. What you gonna do when Vinomania runs wild on you, brother?
No.
All right. So I guess I tried. Let's introduce ourselves. Josh, why don't you go first?
All right. Well, I'm Josh. I will run the main YouTube channel. So on Mondays, this is when the podcast releases. You probably know that because you're listening to it right now. And then Tuesday through Friday, then I will release daily videos. Most of the time, it'll be me. Every once in a while, I don't know, Luke or Cheyenne might pop in for a video or something. But that's the plan over there. Yeah, so that's what I'm doing. I'm the general manager, so I manage stuff. I keep these guys in line. Yeah, I manage the Twitter, our Twitter account. I manage our podcast. And
we have a Twitter?
We have a Twitter.
What's our Twitter?
Our Twitter is @experimentalre1.
Yeah, I don't know why. Twitter just made that for me. I was like, well, I don't like it, but it works.
You know you can change it.
I probably will end up changing it.
Okay.
Or we'll just keep it. We're just
gonna have to leave it now that we've said it on the podcast.
Yes.
So @experimentalre1 on Twitter. Give us a follow. Share us. Retweet everything we post. It's very important.
Retweet everything.
Everything we post.
What are we going to be posting?
Everything.
Everything?
Yeah.
I will be tweeting my entire day every day.
Yeah, we're going to get live tweets from Josh's work. None of that is
However long that lasts until he no longer has work.
Right. So you get fired for live tweeting at work. So about the first 2 hours of day one.
Because we're not supposed to have our phone. Well, we can have our phones on us, but they're not really supposed to be out while
It's
we're
fine.
working.
You'll be all right.
All right. Just sneak it out.
I am Luke. I am 19 years old, and I never learned how to read. Another fine.
Good try. Good try.
If my name was Jared, it would have worked better. But it's not. It's Luke. I am the executive producer of Experimental Reality. I basically write. I plan for each episode. Just kind of manage the show's overall direction. I make sure everyone knows what they're doing for each week's episode, and yeah.
Until we defy Luke and do our own thing.
Until they just completely ignore me and do their own thing anyway.
You mean like how when we got here and we're like, oh hey, we didn't print off your thing, so we're just gonna talk.
Right. Yes. So basically my job is I plan and then they ignore it. They just wing it. It's fine. It's fine. I'm not mad at all.
I'm Cheyenne. I am the multimedia coordinator. I record the audio setup, provide the studio, and do all the graphic work and any animations we throw on the videos.
Right, so that beautiful ER logo that you can no doubt see as our album cover, designed by Cheyenne.
It's very 80s retro, and I like it.
We are all college students.
Yep.
Currently home for the summer. Only Josh actually goes to school in our hometown.
Yeah.
Tell them about what you're studying.
I study. I'm a dual major, so I study robotics and electronic systems. So.
Nice.
That's technically a technician degree, and then after that I can go for another 2 years, because it's a 2-year degree. Once I'm done with that, then I can go for another 2 years and get an engineering degree. So we'll see where I go with that. If the podcast takes off, I won't have to do that.
That's very unlikely. But if it all does go down in flames, it'll probably be Josh's fault.
Yeah, probably.
I am.
Or Luke's fault for not managing everything and keeping everything.
You're the manager.
I'm
just the producer.
Producing thing.
I'll produce things. They might be good. They might not be, but we'll produce them.
We'll produce them.
I am currently studying for an electrical engineering degree, and I'm home for the summer working on an internship. We all will go our separate ways physically when the school's next semester rolls back around. However, we're currently working on finding tech solutions to still keep the podcast going week in, week out, no matter where we are. So Don't worry about that.
Yeah, and me and Josh will have a long drive to meet up with each other. We're about 3 blocks away, technically.
About a mile, just shy of a mile, I think.
Yeah, so they're a really long commute, and I will be about 6 hours away. So if I wanted to be here to record live, I'd have to leave at about gonna say like 8 a.m.
That's not too early.
It's not. We get here at 8 or leave at 8 a.m. Drive across the state, record this podcast, drive all the way back, and get back at like 9 p.m.
It'd be like 12, 13 hours of driving every day.
Yep. Once a week.
Not every day. Once a week.
Sorry, once a week.
I, as a poor college student, cannot, in fact, afford that. So, through the miracle of modern technology, we will be digitally convening. You know, we'll get special live episodes over like breaks and stuff. Thanksgiving, Christmas,
Yeah.
Easter. Probably not Easter. I don't come back for Easter. Anyway, irrelevant.
But that's a long ways down the road, so we'll get it working.
Right.
We actually have to
figure it
like
out.
get some podcasts out before we can like actually figure, like
Yeah,
keep this going. Yeah.
Should probably make sure keep this going first.
Keep this going.
So, first thing, Josh, we know what you do now. So tell us about who you are. What are your hobbies? What are your talents? What do you enjoy doing? Your free time?
I don't know. Normal college guy stuff.
You're just giving them the wrong impression. It's not
So,
normal college
drinking
guy stuff.
and partying.
No,
yeah,
yeah.
you big party
No,
animal.
like that. I don't know. I just kind of I like to play games and stuff, like board games. Kind of a bit of a board game nerd. I'm doing YouTube. That's gonna take up a lot of my time. I volunteer quite a bit, so I guess that really isn't normal college guy stuff.
Not even close.
Because I stay pretty busy doing stuff. So
Normal college guy stuff. What Josh does.
There's a big gulf in the middle.
Big, like,
Grand Canyon, we're talking.
yeah.
yeah.
It's okay.
Fair enough.
You have the Grand Canyon. The Grand Canyon is just your bottomless void of a social life.
Too real, man.
Let me explain a little bit here. It may sound like we bully each other here on the podcast. However, we have been friends. I'm 19. Josh is 19. Cheyenne is 21.
Luke and I have been friends since we were 5.
We have been friends since we were 5, 6, 7 years old. So we have known each other for a very long time. We all used to live, you've heard already, Cheyenne and Josh live fairly close to each other.
Yep.
I used to live about a mile away, so well within biking distance out in the country. So we were pretty close friends back in the day. I've since moved across town now, but
He hated us, so he felt like he had to get away from us.
absolutely, yeah, I insisted.
Then he regretted it 100% and's like, I gotta get back with those guys.
So I got a car.
Yeah.
So now, I can drive over.
And
Anyway,
he decided to go to school halfway across the state. So
when you've
To
been,
get rid of us.
yeah,
to get rid of us,
absolutely. I'm
yeah.
just trying to escape. Anyway, when you've been friends as long as we have, sometimes the casual banter turns into it sounds like bullying over the air. You can't see our facial expressions. Josh is
I
tearing
laugh
up.
at everything.
Josh is he's laughing. He can laugh and like tear up at the same time if we said something really hurtful, which would make for great podcasting.
It's bullying with love.
Mm-hmm.
It's bullying with love. It's like when a bully steals your lunch money and
then
beats you up to go get you chocolates to forgive him for beating you up.
Yeah.
Yeah, or like a bully that comes and beats you up and then like teaches you how to defend yourself, but not against him, so he just keeps beating you up.
This is how you defend from this punch. Now I never use that. Punch.
Also known
But-
as personal training. All right, I guess I'll go next. I like sports, which makes me sound like a big musclehead. I'm really not. I'm a big fan of American football. Even bigger fan of European football, known as soccer. I follow that pretty closely. Professional wrestling, WWE, and all that jazz. It's not fake. It's scripted. That's what I'll tell everyone that asks. Cheyenne, you're gonna have to back me up on this. It's not as dumb as it seems.
Once you get into it, like you can start to get into it. I mean, depending on how skeptical you are, it can take you a little bit, but it's not as dumb as it just seems from the outside.
Right. If you want to get into it, this is my first plug of the day. We are not sponsored by Major League Wrestling. No free ads, but Major League Wrestling on YouTube puts out every Monday night. So tonight, you get home after work, head to the YouTube, 7 o'clock Central Time. They will premiere their weekly episode of their TV show, Major League Wrestling Fusion. It's a really cool style. There's not a lot of the weird crap that goes on. No one dresses like a turkey or
Why
as
not?
an undead wizard. I don't know.
What
They
if,
really should.
what if that's what I want from the show?
Well, Cheyenne, if you want to become the gobbledygooker, just go back and look at old WWE.
Okay.
Anyway, Major League Wrestling, it's on YouTube. It's free. It's awesome. 1 hour a week. Definitely worth your time if you're interested in getting into professional wrestling. Cheyenne, tell us about your hobbies, interests.
Well, I am currently going to school for graphic design. I dropped down to part-time for school so I can afford to continue going. So I've been working and going to school, only taking like 6 to 9 credits every semester. But I've been working on graphic design, and I actually I like playing games, and I'm a big multitasker. And actually, with the logo, funny story. I was playing Destiny 2 on my PC, and I'm like, oh well, I'll multitask during like loading times, and I'll pull up Illustrator in the other screen. I have 2 monitors, and I completely forgot about it. I pulled up the program, got all the specs set, and then completely forgot about it and zoned into Destiny. And then a couple of my friends came on Discord, and I was talking to them. And I'm like, oh wait, I'm supposed to be creating a logo for this. So I pull up Elder Scrolls Online to play with them, and then actually like jump over and mess with the graphics while I'm playing, and it was interesting.
So what you're saying is, I tried to play Destiny and multitask and make this logo, and it didn't work. So I've got a brilliant plan. I'm going to pull up a different video game and play that and multitask.
With friends.
With friends, right. So then there's the verbal aspect of communication going on, too. And somehow that worked.
Yeah, it took me probably in total from like opening the program to like finally getting it done, it probably took me like 3 hours. But actually like designing it, probably only like 20 minutes.
If you're a neuroscientist, we'd like to donate Cheyenne's brain to science just so we can figure out how all of this is working. So get in contact with us if you're a neuroscientist. We've got a brain for you. All right, so let's kind of talk about what we want what this show is. What are we planning on doing with this show? Because so far we introduce ourselves, and that's not going to really work week to week.
Why not? What if people really want to get to know us?
Look, I wasn't interesting the first time around. I don't think it's going to work next time.
That's true. You're kind of boring in all reality.
So let's talk about like what this show is.
It's an experiment.
Complete silence.
It's an experience.
Silence.
So what we've gathered is no one has any idea what the show is, which is fine.
Not
right?
even the people hosting
Yeah,
it.
not even us. So if you have suggestions of what this show is,
just type it in, like, run it through like Google and have Google like
There we go.
auto-generate
Just-
like.
perfect. We're gonna set up a neural network. to
Yes.
just write the show description for us.
Google, I'm feeling lucky. Boom.
I'm
Topic
feeling
every week.
Perfect.
Let's see
That's
what
not
it
a
is.
horrible
Hold
plan.
up.
Yeah, let's
Hold
look
up,
this
I'm
up.
curious.
All right.
Yeah.
All
All
right.
right.
But experimental is a very apt term for what we're doing because
I'm feeling playful.
none
I'm
of us
feeling
have
playful.
none of us have ever done a podcast before.
Jim Henson's 75th birthday.
Jim Henson. Okay, so that's the guy that created the Muppets. Did you guys watch the Muppets and Sesame Street as a kid?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Can we all agree that the Muppets was just vastly superior to Sesame Street?
No, because Sesame Street is like what I mainly watched. That was like my childhood. I'm
Josh,
sorry.
back me up
mean-
on this.
Yeah, because Sesame Street. Sesame Street for like 5-year-olds is amazing, but like
True.
the problem is like you can enjoy Muppets when you're 5. You can also enjoy it when you're like 105.
Absolutely, because like the older I
It's
get, the less I
timeless.
used to be like, yeah, Animal and his crazy flailing is really cool. Because I played drums in high school, so I just thought Animal's kind of cool. And then you get older and you realize those 2 old dudes on the balcony, Waldorf and Statler, are just way better. Like by far the best characters in the Muppets. You guys know what I'm talking about?
No.
I've watched a little Muppets.
Okay,
Yeah,
so
same.
these 2 old guys up on a balcony.
Oh yeah, they're like the old guys in like the black suits or whatever.
I don't know if they wear black suits, but they
Something.
sit up on the balcony, right? Because the Muppet Show is presented as this on-stage thing that's going on, okay?
Yep.
And these 2 old guys are sitting up in these not booth. My mind went to John
Balcony.
Wilkes Booth, which is the last thing that happened in one of those box seats.
Oof.
There's only 2 important things that have happened in box seats through history. Abraham Lincoln's assassination, Waldorf and Statler. Okay, so, but the box seats, or whatever, up on the balcony, and it'll be, these 2 grumpy old men, and they're just heckling the show that they're on, which is such a novel concept. Like, granted, this is basically what we're doing, where we're just trash-talking our own show as we're making it, but you have these 2 old men up on the balcony, and one of them will go, there's nothing like a good show. And the other guy goes, yeah, and this is nothing like a good show. Oh, and they just have these super distinctive laughs. Just go search Waldorf and Statler
Yeah.
highlights on, you know what I'm talking
Yeah,
about.
they're like both bald and stuff.
Yeah, and they'll just heckle their own
Yeah, I
show,
know
and
what
it's
you're talking
hilarious. My favorite Muppets.
So, anyways, back to what the show is.
Hey, you were the one that thought I'm feeling lucky was
No.
Yeah,
Back
okay.
to what the show is. It's literally just us talking about random stuff. It's an experiment. It's fun. It's...
I mean, tell us if it's fun. It might not be fun.
Well, it's fun for us.
It's fun for us. I'm having fun.
Yeah.
Talk about pop culture. Oh,
Yeah, pop culture, the news, lightly.
yeah.
Um,
So yeah, news, pop culture, video games.
whatever crosses our scatterbrained minds.
Yeah.
Speaking of video games, E3, hopefully there'll be something that catches our eyes that we'll be able to talk about next podcast.
That new Star Wars Jedi, what is it? Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order. They just released some gameplay trailer of it.
I watched like a minute of it.
really
It
good.
looks good.
I am
but
cautiously
then
optimistic about the next generation of video games because, it's a big thing in culture when everything will swing to one side, and then, in reaction, something that's so far to the other side of the spectrum will be fresh and interesting,
And then everything.
and then everything goes back. That's
It's-
why
it's
we
a
alternate
pendulum.
between Democratic and Republican presidents most of the time.
Yeah, it's
It's because, it's a pendulum. So everyone was making these massively multiplayer games and 64-player in Battlefront or
100-player battle royale.
right, 100-player battle royale. What's the opposite of a 100-player battle royale?
Single-player
games.
story-driven campaign.
Bingo. Single-player, story-driven. The two games I'm most excited for right now is Cyberpunk 2077.
Which isn't coming out for like another.
It's not
2-3
coming out. We
years.
might be dead by the time that comes out. Like
True.
the Earth might just flood.
Hashtag climate change.
Yeah, hashtag climate change. Climate change, if you're listening to this podcast, please hold off until I've beat Cyberpunk 2077. Thank
Yes.
you in advance. And then, yes.
I could just see Luke in a boat, like, playing Cyberpunk as, like,
absolutely.
the
Luke-
sea level
Luke-
is visually
Luke
rising.
makes his own like version of the Ark, but instead of putting animals on, he just puts a bunch of PCs on to be able
absolutely.
to run the game at max.
And then when one
generators
dies, I just move to the next PC. See,
a little bit of water damage.
I will unplug my own life support to play this game. So, and then Jedi Fallen Order, which is basically just, it's just cool. Like if you've played the old Knights of the Old Republic, those were awesome games.
Or even the Jedi Academy games.
I
Yeah.
love those games. I might re-download that later and play it because it was just such a great game.
Seriously, like, the golden age of Star Wars is the early 2000s. Like, after about 2005, like it went downhill. Like, I mean, you had The Force Unleashed, and that was about it. And The Force Unleashed wasn't bad.
It was okay.
It was okay.
It was a solid 5.5, which is relatable, but
But to be fair, that's also like when the popularity of Star Wars started to
yeah.
fade
Yeah, well,
out.
And they
but
basically
then you
the
had
movies
Clone
stopped
Wars and
coming
stuff,
out,
and
and then they had
Yeah.
to. They just kept stuffing the void with something. Eventually the demand for Star Wars fades out. But you see stuff like that. This is what the podcast is. It's us talking about whatever comes to our mind, whatever's happened to us this week,
getting
whatever's
off topic every 5 seconds.
getting off topic every 5 seconds.
I actually, speaking of which, one of our earlier, when we were going through, like, show titles, one of the first ones that we came up with was, like, 5 seconds on topic,
Because it's absolutely true, right? We have these show notes, and then we just deviate from them wildly.
What are we on? We're on 10 to 15 minutes. What the show is?
What the show is. We're hypothetically on what the
And
show
we're,
is.
What, 26 minutes in? Yeah. So,
Solid.
like, I mean, we're still somewhat on topic, but, like,
Relatively.
with, like, 4 other topics inserted, too.
Which is fine. Like, if that's who we are as people, right? We can't. If you sit with us at a fireside or something, our topics will just deviate wildly.
it's just the ebbs and flows of conversation, though. That's just
Absolutely.
how conversation works.
It's just ours ebbs and flows a little more. Some people have like a little babbling brook, and we're talking like the big waves that just
Ours
crash
are
against
the
the bottom of a
floodgates.
dam. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Like, when we get together, it is the floodgates opening, and it's just... Words are the flood that just...
Because it would be cool to have like a fully scripted podcast and everything stay on topic, but
Read from a
it's going to be
teleprompter.
experimental, and that's the reality of the situation. And
Oh,
that
are
was,
we
that was
not
super
doing
forced.
script anymore? Did
But
we
no,
throw
put
this
the
out?
script away.
Oh, shoot.
You can't. Don't let them hear. So let's talk about for a bit what this show isn't. This show is not a politics show. We will be maybe briefly touching on the more
More, cultural
yeah,
relevant things,
culturally
yes.
relevant politics.
Culturally impactful.
But we most likely won't be discussing individual politicians. We probably won't be discussing elections, who we support. It's irrelevant, right? Your
Yeah.
enjoyment of the show is not based upon who we are or what we like. Just don't worry about it. It's fine.
So no politics. We'll probably stay out of religion. We'll
Probably not talk about the weather unless like something major happens.
I mean, I was actually going to talk about the weather at some point today.
Well,
Nope, you ruined. No, we can't. You
ruined
just
it.
said. You just said what the show isn't. Now we talked about it.
what else?
Man.
But yeah, I mean, we'll talk about the weather as it pertains to our lives. We'll talk about our lives mostly, and what's happening out there.
I bought a new car recently.
Yes,
That's
you
pretty
did,
exciting.
and then just completely rebuilt it because.
No.
Well, I mean, you had to replace a bunch of stuff. Though.
I just had to get new brakes on it. That was it.
Right.
I
Normal people can't just replace the brakes on their car.
Why can't they?
I can replace wheels and maybe change the oil.
Yeah, I can put gas in mine and change tires.
I can put gas in mine too.
Write to us if you can change the brakes on cars, because my brakes need replacing and I can't do it, and Cheyenne's not very helpful. So,
Tweet us at
experimental RE1 if you can change out brakes. Like, we might put a poll up. Can you change your?
Can you change your
I'm
own
putting that
brakes?
on you right now, Josh.
All
We're
right.
gonna poll. There's gonna be by the time you hear this, there will be a poll on Twitter. Can you change your own brakes? I want you to answer that poll for
I'll
us.
have to
Thank
remember
you.
to put that on
dear
on
listener.
Monday now.
All
right.
right, let's talk about what do we want this show to be? Where can we see it going from here? Because as it's really fun to just float from random topic to topic. We are hoping to get some like more standard segments in here. I'm trying to think of an example of a really famous podcast, but
One more. I want to go back to what the show is.
yeah, go ahead.
We're gonna try to keep this pretty family friendly. In that
Mhm.
PG, me might slip in a little PG-13. I don't know.
we're gonna do our best.
Yeah, we'll try to
something
keep it
that our
pretty
moms
PG.
could listen to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mom, if you're listening, you aren't, but if you are, I love you.
Yeah, same mom. I love you.
And my sister, who actually supports me, hi.
My sister, who hates me right now, probably not listening. So I'm
Shout
not
out
gonna
to you,
say
hi.
Yeah.
Okay, so back to what we want this show to be. So if you have ideas for segments, please write us. Email us at experimentalrealitiespodcast.com. DM us on Twitter.
Yeah.
Leave comments on the YouTube
Yes.
videos. I
Just-
will do my best to read as many as
We
I
are
can.
doing our best to keep up with every form of communication. Yeah, email is a good one. Whatever it is.
Did you say the
Just-
email?
Yeah, it's experimentalrealities@gmail.com.
Experimental reality, not realities.
Right.
Experimental reality.
No, it is
podcast
experimental reality. Singular reality.
at gmail.com.
Just one. No,
There's only one reality. No multiverse.
I don't buy. There's no experimental multiverse. There's just one. In the different versions of this world, this is the only timeline in which we made a podcast. So, with that in mind, this is clearly the darkest
Yes,
timeline.
this is the
Absolutely.
darkest.
This is the
timeline.
one experimental reality
Mhm.
in all of the realities. This is the one
Yes,
experimental
the fates have
reality.
decided to mess with us to make this podcast, but here we are. So, how was you guys this week? Tell me about your week.
Well, it sucked because I had to work all week. And I
That's
had
called
lunch,
having a job.
and I had lunch with you, and that was probably the worst hour of
true.
my life every day.
Nice.
You guys
I'll
didn't even invite me.
I mean, if
I
you
was
want,
so
if you
hurt.
want to drive over to our complex and eat lunch with us while you're sleeping in the middle of the day,
Yeah, you're more
you
than
go
welcome.
for it.
Because we eat lunch
See,
from noon to 1.
Cheyenne, your schedule is what? What's your work
Um,
schedule?
3 in the afternoon till 1:30 in the morning, but we're pretty much there till at least 2 every night.
I mean, you could hypothetically eat with us, but
I'd
you
have to
want to,
actually
go ahead.
get out of bed before
that's
noon.
that's a tough one.
Get out of bed before noon. That's very tough, guys.
Yeah, me and Josh synced up our lunch breaks at work. Our buildings are right next to each other.
We technically work at 2 different places, but I just literally have to walk like a minute down the hill. Like I just walk around my building and come down the hill, and he's right there. So
Yep. So we usually eat together. Yeah. So eating with me, miserable as
Miserable.
per usual. All right, good. Just checking.
beating up on me, like I come down there to eat, and I'm like trying to eat my sandwiches. He's like punching me, like I'm on
With
the ground.
his sandwich.
with his sandwich.
Yeah,
He's
so
like
why
a
are you
sub,
punching
just
my
like
salad?
clubbing me with his sandwich.
Oh, so we can't do Vines, but we can do ASDF references.
Yes, of course.
Oof, they're like Vines, but for 12-year-olds.
Hey,
Hey,
we still enjoy them.
Say at least 2 of us here like him. So
No free ads though. Tom Scott, you owe us royalties. My week was good. I went to work. I pretty much enjoy my work. I kind of work split time between 2 different departments, and one of the departments is engineering, and I'm getting to design my own. We make electrical components. I'm getting to design my own right now. They'll be going into manufacturing pretty soon.
Do you
Yeah,
collect
it's
royalties on the
it's
parts
relatively
you
rewarding.
manufacture?
I do not. No, I get paid not that well. Shout out internships.
Hey, I'm an
But
internship.
I'm
but
learning.
getting paid pretty well.
Yeah, congratulations. You're a special snowflake.
Thank you.
Some people in this room, Josh, actually tried hard in school. So, Cheyenne, I don't think you did.
No,
I did.
I 100%.
No, me and Cheyenne were
yeah,
not
no.
good students.
I
Try
could've-
hard. I just did my homework. Like, that's
Oh,
the
see,
thing.
no, that's too. That's called
See,
trying
that's-
hard.
All
Yeah,
right.
that's trying hard in our
Getting your
books.
assignments turned on time is try harding. All right.
Yeah.
then I'm-
Yeah,
What a
that's
nerd.
Sign me up. I'm a try hard. All right.
You could tell me and Cheyenne were just the greatest students.
Yes, 100%.
Yeah. What'd you guys do today? Like since waking up? Because my day has been terribly interesting so far.
I woke up, worked on some. Wait, what did I do? I woke up. Oh, I cleaned my room so we could do the podcast. I set up the audio stuff. I worked a little bit on more graphics and created the animation for the video intros.
Yeah, I was joking around when we first got here. I was like, all the biggest tech companies in the world, like all the most like successful, like like
Apple,
businesses, yeah,
Facebook, Microsoft,
Amazon. They all
Shout out Facebook who's monitoring everything we say.
yeah, they all started in a garage. We started in a bedroom, so we're all here one step.
Yeah, it's
ahead.
like a step
So-
up to get to a garage. We
Yeah.
can't afford a garage.
Oh, so it's a step down now that we're in a
It's a step
bedroom.
down.
Oh no, bedroom's definitely. I don't know.
I mean,
It's-
we have a
bedroom-
TV, we have a computer,
We
we
have
got.
two
That's
like
true.
nice curved.
This is
Yeah.
pretty.
screens.
You do have a very nice computer.
We have nice G-Skill RGB RAM. Like
You bet.
Like
Please sponsor us.
G-Skill,
Please sponsor us. No free ads though. We got a generic brand RAM.
generic
We
brand.
have a generic PC.
We're currently drinking generic cola. Generic cola. This week's
Generic
episode
cola.
brought to you by Generic Cola. It's better than nothing, but only by a little bit.
but no free ads.
But
No free
anyways,
ads. Yeah.
They generic cola paid us for that
So,
one.
I woke up this morning. Me and my sister went up to coffee. We like to do that sometimes just to hang out. I have two little brothers besides my sister, so it's just nice to hang out with just my sister sometimes. The rest of my family's out of town anyway, so went to coffee, and then she had to go to a meeting, so I went and bought some stuff. And then after that, we went to the parking lot of like a big farm supply store in our area, and we got goats. So there are two fainting goats at my house right now.
fainting goats.
Fainting goats.
We should like go film a podcast. with
We
them and,
absolutely,
yes.
at some point, we will
100%.
definitely get a YouTube video where we just scare goats.
scare goats.
See, here's the
All
question:
right.
is it ethical to buy animals with the purpose of bullying them?
No, see, the thing is, we can't purposely scare them. We just have to film them falling off of things and like freezing.
That's quality content right there. Yeah. So we have fainting goats at our house now.
Wait, what would goat yoga be like with fainting goats? Have you heard of
I
goat
haven't
yoga?
heard of goat yoga.
That's-
Explain
Okay, so
goat
it's
yoga
it's
to me.
where they do yoga, but they have like these little like baby goats
Yeah.
that like go around and like climb on them while they're doing yoga. And it's really interesting to watch, and everyone's like laughing the entire time. But I'm curious what it would look like with fainting goats.
Apparently, it's like extraordinarily therapeutic too. Like apparently, it's like supposed to like cure depression or something. I don't know. I mean,
If you're a goat yoga's company,
I want
please
to know
sign
more
up to
about this.
Please contact us at our sponsorship email, which is the same as our normal email, experimentalrealitypodcast@gmail.com.
I want to know more about this goat yoga.
Yeah, okay, we're gonna find a goat yoga place, and we can do
We
our
can just
own
make one.
I've got some yoga mats, and I've got goats, so like
Let's do it.
goat yoga
Goat
content
yoga.
coming to you soon. And then after that, went home, took the goats to their place, got them set up. You know, we got a pen in our chicken coop. We have a lot of animals: chickens, horses, single dog,
Oh my.
cats,
Luke himself.
goats. Now, my brothers, the wildest animals on the farm.
You.
Me. Just me. That's it.
Just Luke.
No punchline. So we got the goats set up. My uncle, not my aunt, she stayed. My uncle and cousins from out of state arrived to pick up a kitten. Everyone took off. I went for a run. And my sister said before I went to run, she's like, "Ooh, it's gonna rain." I was like, "It's fine. I'll just run through it." And
It
that
rained.
was a terrible run. It was so bad. It wasn't even because of the rain, but it's just, it's like, you know, hot and humid is painful, but at least it's what you expect.
Like this
Right.
was like cold.
This was like cold and humid.
Yeah.
It was like choking on the air. It was so thick with water. So I ran about 3/4 of a mile down to the lake access. I say ran. I had to stop and walk at some points. Like, I've run 5Ks before. I'm not in horrible shape. But I just had to stop and walk. My shoulder was killing me. My diaphragm, which is the muscle that contracts and expands your lungs, was killing me. Get down to the lake, and then it starts to rain, and rain good.
It was raining pretty hard.
It was
there
raining
for like
really
a good,
hard.
like 10-15 minutes.
Yeah,
Like,
a perfect 10-15 minutes for me to go from the lake back to my house, obviously, because, you know, nothing ever works out right.
you get
So
home.
I get back home just drenched and, like, miserable. Everything's hurting. And then I took a shower, and then I packed up my stuff and came over. Like, I'm just fresh off that.
20 minutes late. We were 20 minutes late.
I am
I mean,
periodically...
it's pretty
not
normal for you to
punctual.
be late.
Oh, absolutely. I am rarely on time.
And like I asked them to come an hour early just so we could like set up, maybe start early, and he showed up like 20 minutes before like the original time.
No.
You know, it was only 20 minutes late, so 40 minutes before
late.
the
40
original
minutes
time.
before the
40
original time.
minutes before.
Plenty of time.
Yeah.
We didn't even plan for 40 minutes. We're good.
Yeah, we're running. We're good on time.
Anyway, so that's how my day was.
I went on a bike ride. I biked 16 miles around the lake this morning.
All the way around the...
Goose Lake. Goose Lake.
What is it like to actually get up at a decent time and actually be able to do something with your day?
I don't
Please
know.
tell me.
If you've had an
This is
experience
such a
with normal
bizarre
sleeping
concept.
schedules, please write in.
This is such a bizarre like I've been working now.
I slept in this morning.
My second shift, 3 o'clock till 1:30 in the morning for like 8 weeks or whatever now, maybe more than that. I don't know, but it's just gotten to the point where like I'll go to bed at like 3 or 4 in the morning. Even if I get off work at 1:30, I'll get home because it's like a 30-minute drive. I'll get home at 2. And then I won't be able to fall asleep for like another hour and a half. And with how hot and humid it is, it's not helping. And then I'll like get up at noon and not want to get out of bed. And then I'll get up, get something to eat, and go right back to work.
What an exciting life you lead.
Yeah,
Yeah, this is my first job that's like a standard, like, I work 8 to 5, I get 1 hour lunch. Like,
You get an hour lunch?
yeah.
What do you do with all that time?
Talk to this idiot. I'm
Yeah.
pointing at Josh in case you can't tell because you're not physically in the room with us.
Beats me with sub sandwiches for an hour.
Yeah, mostly I just beat Josh.
That's
It's
like good exercise.
This is
Dang.
great exercise. Look at these guns.
Jeez.
It's just all Josh beating.
For those of
muscles.
you who cannot see, his arms are about the thickness of a small twig.
I'd say pencil. closer
Pencil,
to.
okay.
Thanks,
yeah.
boys.
You're welcome.
Like,
You
I'm
know-
not even sure how his bones fit in there, and they don't just like snap whenever someone like barely touches it.
I did get a spiral fracture once high-fiving someone.
Anyway,
I played football throughout high school. Played as a misnomer, perhaps. I practiced football.
He.
They occasionally even let me in the game. Very late in the fourth quarter.
The bench really
I'm not
liked
bitter.
him. The bench really liked him.
Well, it's better to try and fail than to not have tried at all.
I mean,
Pretty
depending
sure
on
Sun
how
Tzu said
hard
that or
you
something.
fail. I mean, like, what if you try to fly?
and then you just jump
You
off
just
the
jump
Empire
off-
State
yeah,
Building.
like
If you
that's a pretty big
legal
fail.
disclaimer. Legal
Don't
disclaimer.
try that.
Experimental reality does not endorse jumping off the Empire State Building. Please do not attempt to fly.
Yeah. No.
Um,
See, and I did cross country my junior and senior years of high school. So
and track.
I did track all 4 years.
Oh yeah, big hurdles guy over here.
Big hurdles guy.
Me and Cheyenne did shot put and discus together.
My junior year.
Right, my sophomore year.
Yep.
Then I did it again my junior year. I'm getting into soccer now, playing it just casually at the university. And everyone I play with has been playing since they were like little kids, and they're just so much better than me. And I've started playing since I got to college, and I just finished my freshman year, so I get beat a lot. It's fine. I'm not mad.
By bullies or like just
Yeah,
like
no,
beat
I get-
as in like
It's
you
really
lose.
it's really hard to steal my lunch money when it's almost on a card, but
That's true. Well, that's easy. And then they get all of it at once.
yeah.
that's a good point. It does have my picture on it
Keep
though.
swiping.
Terrible pictures. By the way, I am personally incapable of having a good picture taken of me.
That's okay. I look
Really?
like I just smoked a joint and then took my picture for my driver's license. Like,
Didn't you?
It's.
I actually,
Shh. We don't
But
talk
sorry,
about
that's a
that
secret.
here.
If you're a police officer listening to this, that was a joke. If you're not, it wasn't.
Oh, gosh dang it.
Yeah, so speaking of professional wrestling,
But we weren't.
yeah, but I was thinking about it, so it counts.
This is how I talk
Mhm.
to. I'm like, oh, by the way, so about tacos. What about cats?
Taco cats.
We were just
Taco. There we go.
It says people look at you like we were talking about tacos 45 minutes ago, and you're like, yeah, but I wasn't done.
I wasn't done. I was having the
wasn't
mental
done.
conversation.
Okay,
I was thinking about how many hairballs you have to cough up after a taco cat.
that's disgusting.
Anyways,
If you have experience with putting hot sauce on your cat, please write us. If you were a loved one has had trouble with Mesopotamia,
dang it, you messed
if
me
you were a
up.
loved one have had problems with Mesopotamia, call the Huns.
Anyways, you're saying.
Yeah, sorry. Pro wrestling. I have been in talks lately with a pro wrestling promoter near me to.
Does he need a graphic designer, a videographer, a photographer?
I can ask.
You should do that.
Okay, we'll do.
Does he need a scrawny nerd to run around, running away from big guys who are going to beat him up? Because he should hit me up.
Oh, I thought you were talking about me.
Well, I mean, or you. I mean,
Both of
I
you.
can run for a very long time.
It's true. But yeah, I've been in talks with him to come train and wrestle for him. I've done a bit of training in the past, not a lot, but it's just a big hobby of mine. I like to work out and I like to be creative, write things. I DM Dungeons and Dragons, which is basically I'm the guy that comes up with it. I promise it's not satanic. Please, it's not. I promise.
It's not.
It's just not satanic.
We only do rituals every Wednesday. It's not all the time.
I mean, look, I think this is a solidly anti-Satan podcast. We can come out and that's a pretty
That is
Anyway.
the one religious position we will take.
Satan bad. It's a pretty controversial one, we know, but anyway. So yeah, I run the games for Dungeons and Dragons. I like to just write things, come up with things. So it's kind of pro wrestling's a medium that lets you work out and be creative at the same time, which is why I'm a big fan of it. Anyway, I've been in talks with a promoter, and it looks like I will be doing actual pro wrestling soon. So I'm very excited about that.
Nice. So, are Shiny and I going to talk about our days, or just Luke?
I mean, look,
Well, I was about to actually
okay.
ask him if
Yeah, ask
we're
him a
gonna see
question.
him on WWE in the next couple years.
the next couple of years.
Yeah, like
no.
WWE 20 or something. Are they going to have you next to the Rock or something?
WrestleMania going
Yeah.
up
Oh,
against Undertaker?
Oh boy,
Luke single-handedly takes on both the Undertaker and the Rock.
my first and only match in WWE where I take on an Undertaker and The Rock and just die. Actually, in the ring at WrestleMania.
Just dead.
I'm Tampa Bay. I'm coming. If you're a listener from Tampa Bay area, book your tickets now to watch me just get murdered in person.
just broken in half, like the pencil he is.
Yeah,
Gets
my
put in a
little twig
casket.
arms.
Casket gets broken in half, including you.
And then they just light it on fire.
Yeah,
Just light
it's
him on
fine.
fire.
WrestleMania's wild. Anyway, so yeah, my ring name is, so I'm going as this babyface, which is a good guy.
Oh, and because he does have a baby face.
That's true. I do have a baby face.
Which you might see at some point if we ever do
It's
a
true.
live stream podcast
You bet.
or any recorded podcasts
Someday.
with video.
Yeah.
So the character is like the squeaky clean good guy. I think like John Cena or that one kid from high school. Like his character is he's a high school athlete, right? I'm 19 years old, so I'm like an ex-high school all-star. My name is the All-Star. What are you laughing at?
High school, quote unquote, all-star.
Just because I was bad at actual high school football.
You like
My character can
honestly,
be good at high school
honestly
football.
though, you are like you went from being a bench warmer
Mhm.
to being a high school all-star with
Now
pro wrestling.
I'm portraying a wrestler who was so his name is the All-American Jack Avery, which is kind of cool. I don't know. I've got a sweet leather jacket and sunglasses, and I don't know. Anyway, Cheyenne, tell me about your day. Yo, you already did.
Yeah, I mean, not much happened. I woke up, I jumped out of bed, cleaned, and made an animation real quick.
Yeah.
So, because normal people just jump out of bed and like, yeah, I'm gonna bang out an animation today. Let's do
Yeah,
it.
it's I mean, it was like my first like actual project in like Adobe After Effects since like high school, so that's
And it does look really good. So if you are listening to this in audio format on Spotify, iTunes, whatever, just go check out like the first 30 seconds of the YouTube video.
10 seconds. That's
10
all you
seconds?
need. That's
Okay.
the intro.
Yeah.
Go check out
30
Don't watch
second
any
intro.
Don't watch anything
the
else.
next 20 seconds, garbage. But the first 10 seconds.
First 10
Just
seconds.
go check it out. It's really cool. It's a bit of an animation with our logo. The Experimental Realities logo, also designed by him. If you see it, he probably made it.
Yeah.
If you hear it, then he also probably made it.
At least,
But if you can dream about it, then go somewhere else. We're terrible at this sort of thing.
people have dreams of this podcast, but they're like better than the actual
Yeah, I
thing.
know.
It's just like, well, you don't need us anymore.
Don't set your expectations too high.
We get like tweeted at. It's like, hey, I had a dream about Experimental Reality podcast last night. It was great. You guys covered this topic. Oh, we should cover that topic.
Should definitely,
Retroactively.
if you have dreams about this podcast, please contact us. Seriously.
You may be on drugs.
Please, for an imagination that lasts more than 4 hours, please contact a doctor.
Oh my gosh.
So our name is Experimental Realities, as we mentioned. It's a very experimental podcast, and that's just the reality of the situation. But
Yeah.
we went through a lot of names
I like that
before.
phrase. Did you just come up with that on the spot?
bet.
Is that kind of
Yeah,
like?
he
No,
said
I'm
it-
an improv.
yeah,
I'm
he
a
said
big
it earlier,
improv guy.
I like
Okay.
it. It's,
Like,
it's all right,
that's a good little motto.
Thank you. I appreciate that. But we went through a lot of names before coming up with this one. Yeah.
Only like 8 or 10 or
8 or 10 that we seriously considered. There were like
That's true.
30 that were floated.
Well,
True.
okay, so the very first name, this one's actually interesting. So, what is it? Cheyenne were joking about something about how Luke never has an original idea. He just steals everyone else's and claims them as his own. And then Luke was like, hysterical. Really? And then Cheyenne was like, hey, I don't even remember what she said. I'm looking it up on our chat. And then, oh gosh, this is so far back. So much has happened since then. And Cheyenne was like, hey, that's like a good idea or something. And then, so for a little while, it was like hysterical, really. And we're like,
And okay, so like the like my side of the story was like Luke was that like saying that, and then he said hysterical, really, and I responded as 100% a joke, like, oh, there you go, you actually got a good name. And though Josh and Luke latched onto that,
Yeah,
I
and
just
I'm
decided
like-
to run with it.
well, no, okay, yeah, that was my fault then, because I didn't realize Cheyenne was being sarcastic, because this was like over like Snapchat, right? And so I was like, huh, all right, we'll go with it. It's not that bad of a title. So
None of us intended for that to be an actual name, and then we all just decided to run with it.
and that was what it was for a couple days.
And then we
were
realized it sucked.
like, yeah, well, we're like, it doesn't like it's an okay name for a podcast that is not this one.
Right.
So first of all, if you guys ever do start a podcast and call it hysterical,
We
really,
demand royalties.
we demand royalties. Yeah.
Me specifically.
At least 50%.
I'm thinking like 80.
80,
I'm thinking like 50% of a cent.
50% of a cent. So
I'm
that's
gonna
like,
cut a penny in half with some wire cutters and just give it to you next week.
yes.
Okay, I'm down.
That's your pay. That's what we'll pay you.
Yeah, that's
every
actually
podcast.
your percentage of this.
Yes.
Not that we're making any money off of this.
I was about to say, if you're gonna pay me half a penny and we're not even making money, I'm okay with it.
Technically, that's infinite percent pay. If you'd like to just give us money for no particular reason, get in contact.
We
We
should
should
have
start
a
a
Patreon.
Patreon. Yeah.
Yeah. Actually,
Okay.
no. There's one on the podcasting service I'm using where they
Oh,
can,
okay.
where we can actually then do like exclusive pods and stuff.
Oh,
like that.
okay,
So
yeah, yeah.
I might do
Q&A
that.
pods, something
be on
like that.
Podbean.
We could live stream on Twitch and
Yeah,
Q&A.
we'll have to see. First
Yeah.
things first. We just
first
have to
things
get
first.
the
We should
podcast
probably
done.
finish the first episode. So,
Gosh dang it, we just gotta get one done.
all right, other names that we floated. 5 seconds on topic, as we mentioned
5
earlier.
seconds on topic. How experimental reality came was I had wholly experimental. Wholly spelled.
Yeah, WHOLLY.
Yeah, and then
We're
we were
not
like,
experimenting with religion.
Yes. wholly
Remember,
exper-
kids, don't experiment with religion.
Satanic rituals start.
No. This is the first, I think, as to my knowledge, this is the first official anti-Satan podcast. So,
First all right, guys.
Official.
officially. We are officially an anti-Satan podcast. So if you are Satan, please stop listening.
Just leave this room right now. All right.
So
Wait, this just turned into an exorcism really fast.
So, anyways.
This is not an
anyways,
exorcism podcast.
Anyways,
Other names.
other names. We had just Broadcast was kind of just
Yeah.
thrown out by Luke.
Broadcast is a good name. But
What was it?
there's the Broadcast Podcast,
Podcast.
which is a dumb name. Like,
It's
objectively
fun,
bad. It's
but,
fun.
like,
It doesn't make any sense.
yeah.
And then,
Dang it, does this
I
podcast
just-
make any sense?
no, not a bit.
Exactly.
But I kept thinking about the name, and now I love it more than I did when it was first suggested. It's catchy. It's
Which one?
like brain catchy. Broadcast, broadcast, podcast. It's just really fun to say cast 3 times in a row.
Until I put you in a cast. Actually, I probably could, and Luke would be the one putting me in a cast.
No, you just snap my little twig arms.
Just these little pencil arms.
Ah!
Is this gonna be a running joke?
I live in fear of sharpeners.
What was another one? Oh, I had one. I was at work and I was like, just working, I guess, and I had this like really good name that like ran through my head. And I'm like, I need to write this down, but I didn't have a pen or paper, and I didn't want to pull my phone out at the time, and I completely lost it. And then like 2 days later, it was like really early in the morning, wasn't it? Because like I got off work and I just immediately like in our group chat posted, and it was proprietors of procrastination,
Which is a good name. We don't do things when we're supposed to. Josh does, but he's a nerd, so.
Yeah,
Me and Shad are the proprietors of procrastination. Is that our tag? Join me in pro wrestling. That'll be our tag team name.
Proprietors of
The
procrastination.
proprietors of procrastination.
why are they late?
We always go in last because that's when we showed up. Main
schedule
eventing by
first.
default.
It's like that one dude you were telling me. He was just
And
like
then we
so
just-
chill at wrestling. He's
Oh.
just like,
If you want to see comedy wrestling, guy named Orange Cassidy, please sponsor this podcast. No free ads,
This
but
is just all of a sudden turning into a wrestling podcast.
I'm okay
like,
with
like
this.
very slowly. I'm not, because I don't know anything about it.
I don't either.
okay. Orange Cassidy's hilarious because he wrestles in jeans with his hands in his
That
pockets,
just sounds terrible.
and then he just puts minimum effort into everything until
so,
like
me.
until he starts getting beat up. But he'll just hit someone, and it'll be like, eh. And then they'll just be like, what are you doing, you idiot? And he'll act like he just destroyed them. He's just super lazy. It's hilarious. Anyway.
switching from wrestling.
You're
And
the
now,
one that brought, you brought it up.
no, I was gonna say
You
it.
brought up Orange
Now
Cassidy.
for soccer talk, Luke.
Now for soccer talk. So,
And this has been soccer talk.
Thank you,
Thank you for joining us
Thank
this
you
week.
for joining us.
it's gonna be our weekly segment.
We're gonna
We're gonna have
Luke was
an
on his.
indeterminate amount of time about talking about soccer, and that's the only time soccer's allowed to be mentioned during the
So
pod.
yeah, Luke's and my lunch. There for 15 minutes, for whole 15 minutes one day, he decided he was gonna stop beating me with his stuff. He got down on his knees and just pleaded me for a soccer segment on here. I finally conceded and gave him. And now for the soccer talk.
Under the conditions that he gets to decide when it starts at any point during our podcast, which usually gonna go about an hour.
Yep.
And
then
he
I
gets
also
to
get
start
to
it,
end
and then
it
he gets to end it whenever he likes.
whenever I want.
And
Because
so
I might just have you talk for a whole hour about soccer.
I just blanked. I couldn't think of anything, and now I've got everything running through my head, and I can't say it. So moving on.
That sucks. So, of soccer, you play Football Manager. What other types of games do you play?
Full Football Manager. That's actually something I was meant to. Football Manager is kind of like FIFA, except you don't actually get to play. And if that sounds awful,
It's
you
not.
probably wouldn't like
It's
it.
not laden with like loot boxes and microtransactions.
It's
or
not.
whatever.
No, you don't just open a loot box and be like, wow, a whole new player. Because that's not how people work.
What? You don't just get to open a loot box and get a new person?
When a mommy corporation and a daddy loot box love each other very much, you can pay $9.99 for a key and open it up and find a child.
I thought they came out with stores. You're wrong. It's loot boxes.
You see, some people are free add-ons, and some people are paid DLC. I'd like to think of myself as a paid DLC person, but no one buys it. I'm a cosmetic item at best. Anyway, so, to be honest, I was going to ask you guys, I know you guys, we all work full-time jobs,
Yep.
and we are producing this. Do you guys still have time to play video games?
Yeah. I with how messed up my sleep schedule is last night, yeah, I got home and I'm like, cool. Like I said, I'm like, I'm gonna make this graphic, and then I pulled up games
Yep.
and I got distracted, and then eventually came back around and just did both.
Mm.
But then I ended up moving back and then playing games till like 3 a.m.
Classic.
And then I'm like, you know what? I want a phone background. So I switched over and worked on graphics for another half
Actually,
an hour.
me and Josh's phone backgrounds right now are the experimental reality.
Oh,
logo.
and mine too, of course.
Oh, okay. It looks sick. Actually looks
It's-
professional.
yeah, we
Far
should
more
release
professional
that.
than I expected anything involved with this podcast to be. But it's fine.
I was gonna say, we might be like a very ramshackle team, and this might be a very ramshackle conversation.
But our graphics look great, and I bet we're gonna sound great too because Cheyenne knows what he's doing.
Only slightly.
Only slightly, but that's
also,
more than any of us.
That's still better than 0.
Speaking of sounding and like everything like looking good and sounding good, actually the reason I have like decent quality mic and computer and everything is because I used to stream. I haven't streamed in a while because moving back home and chaos and everything, but hopefully I'll be back into it eventually soon. But it'll be like weekends.
And if our listeners want to find you on Twitch, what's the name?
Basically I'm salty. So Twitch
Twitch.tv.
Twitch.tv/ basically I'm salty.
So check him out. He does you like Destiny. You do
Destiny, Fortnite if I ever get around
maybe
to it
Elder
again.
Scrolls with the boys.
Elder Scrolls maybe, yeah.
We might
pretty much anything, honestly.
We might have other of our friends on at some points.
We'll probably have
Again,
guests at some point,
this is still all experimental. I just did finger guns at the microphone because that's how
No,
crazy
It's okay. I
person
talk
am.
with my hands too, so I've been like doing motions like all night. I'm like, wait.
just pantomime a whole entire hour podcast.
Like, I honestly want to set up a camera
Welcome
so
to
I
the
can
Mindcast.
actually, so like we can actually
Mindcast.
like. Oh my god! It would just sound like ASMR, just a whole bunch of like movements,
Oh,
like
that'd be
really
awful.
like.
If you are stuck,
No, Josh, no,
no
please.
ASMR. Yeah, but if
You're fired.
If you have suggestions or whatever for the podcast, we'd love to hear from you.
If you would like an ASMR podcast,
yeah, please let us know. We can
we can make it
ASMR
happen.
Fridays. We got this on the
ASMR
YouTube channel.
Friday. It was gonna be meme review Fridays on the YouTube channel, but I can make it ASMR Friday.
ASMR meme review.
ASMR meme.
Why
review.
not both? But yeah, like going back to what we were talking about before, I don't play video games much. It's once in a blue moon. I mean,
I beg to differ. I see you playing Football Manager all the time.
I leave Football Manager up running experiments in the background because it's simulating through the years. But I am not active.
Okay.
I'm not actively playing because, I'll get home from work at about 5:15, and then usually one of my brothers will need to go somewhere. Well, they're not old enough to drive, so fine. I drive them into town. I come back. Which now it's like 7 o'clock.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, well, I should eat supper. And I eat supper. Usually I have to make it too because everyone's really busy. So fine, do that. Okay, now it's 8 o'clock. It's like, well, I want to hit my ab workout for tonight, so I guess I'll do it now. I do that. And then I want to shower because I'm sweaty from doing my ab workout. All of a sudden it's 9 o'clock. I get up at 6:30 in the morning.
Time to go to bed.
I go to bed pretty soon after. And it's like, well, I don't really have time to play video games anymore. I have dozens of video games in my Steam library. I mean,
You have more than dozens.
I have like 250 games in my Steam library.
Yeah, just dozens, mind you.
Maybe
Just
I'm really bad at math. Maybe like
you're becoming an engineer, man. Like
I didn't say I was a good engineer.
he's the guy who destroys that rocket instead of like going anywhere, just like falls over.
The Challenger rocket, that was me.
That was literally
For the purposes of legal, that was a joke.
that was a joke.
Please do not lynch me for blowing up the challenge. Anyway,
What about on the weekends? Because I mean,
yeah,
that's
you can
that's...
lynch me on the weekends.
No.
Oh,
games.
Well, speaking of the
like,
challenge,
on the weekends, like I spend a lot of time at work, and like last summer, I spent all my time at work, and then I would sit on Reddit for hours or whatever, and YouTube, and I wasn't having fun. And now, so my weekends, I block out time to maybe go on a date with someone, or I'm gonna
Go on a podcast.
yeah,
Go
or
on a
make
podcast.
a podcast, or spend time with my friends. I decided that's what I value more than
Video
screen
games.
time, right? So out of the 250 video games in my inventory, I've played maybe 10 of them more than 3 hours.
And the biggest game in your library right now is life.
It's poetic. I think. It's either poetic or that's some Jaden Smith stuff you're on right now. By the way, speaking of Smith, the new Aladdin movie is great.
Is it?
Go watch it. It's
really?
beautiful.
Yeah, I was
Is it
looking
out?
at
It's out.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
it's
was
in
We
looking-
should
theaters.
go see it.
I just went and watched it on Tuesday.
I was looking at Rotten Tomatoes. The critics apparently like hate it. It was like 56% from the
No,
critics.
it's great.
But the audience review is like 96%
And
or
you know
something.
what?
Don't
Who
quote
needs
me
the
on
critics?
that, but it's pretty close.
Who needs a film degree to tell you whether you're going to enjoy a movie or not? Go watch it. It's worth it. See if
Well-
your theater's a discount night. Go watch it then. Will Smith, weird choice for an Arabic genie. Great actor. It's
Will-
back to like classic Will Smith.
Will Smith makes like pretty much any movie good. Like Suicide Squad was terrible, except
for Will Smith.
Except Will Smith.
I don't think Will Smith can make a bad movie.
Well, he can be part of a bad movie, but he himself cannot be bad in that movie.
Right. Think of all the Will Smith movies. Men in Black, great. Hitch, my all-time favorite romantic comedy. Will Smith, if you're listening, we'd love to have you on the show.
I Am Legend. I Am Legend. Really
great.
Good.
Will Smith is just a good actor, and the fact that his roles are typically funny.
The worst, I think the worst role he ever had was in this year's YouTube Rewind, but I think that's on YouTube for that.
When Will Smith looks back at his YouTube career, it's rewind time.
Or the Fresh Prince of
That's
Bel-Air
right. That was
for
an
TV.
audio meme. You're welcome. Yeah, Fresh Prince of Bel-Air movie or TV show. He was good. Like, I just think Will Smith is a good actor. Watch Aladdin. It's beautiful. The opening scene alone, you're gonna be like, whoa. Because it's just it's one big panning shot through the whole area. It's incredible.
Is it one take?
No. But the opening
okay.
scene is a
The
one
entire
take.
movie is a
okay.
one
It's like a
take.
3-minute one take.
No, well, yeah, no, but like,
now that would be impressive.
no, but like if like the opening scene's like just like going through the city, and if it's all a one take, that's really impressive.
It's so good.
Wow.
I mean, granted, a lot of it's CGI, but who cares? It looks great. You know,
I'm just CGI because, I mean, this is an experimental reality.
yeah, no, Josh is actually just an experimental
I'm a
AI
hologram.
we have going on.
Yeah.
So on to you. Like, what about you? Like, time for video games or anything?
God. Well, okay. So they say that you're a real computer enthusiast when you spend more time researching upgrades from your computer for your gaming computer than you actually spend using your gaming computer for gaming. So that's kind of where I'm at. I spend a fair amount of time. You know, if in my free time I'll like watch like YouTube videos on like, you know, what's happening in the tech world and whatever, you know, graphics cards and stuff. I do quite a bit of that. And so I honestly don't play a lot of video games. I played a little bit more now that summer and I'm not in school. But even so, I'm busy with my NASA thing because I'm doing an NCAS program. That's what the program is called, is NCAS. So I'm busy with working on that big final project and everything and doing so that.
And so if this goes well and they like your application, what happens?
Okay, so basically I applied. And then once you apply, then they review your application. If they like you enough, then they'll put you in the program. So I got accepted into the program and NCAS. Now for the next 5 weeks, we're about a week in now at this point, a little over a week and a half. For the next 5 weeks, I will be doing basically a bunch of tests and quizzes and learning about NASA and whatever. And then I have a big final project that I've been working on over this whole week. My final project is I have to write a paper, about 10 pages or so, on, and then also 3D model a Mars rover. And then I have to write that 10-page paper on, it's not all words, some of it's pictures of the rover, but it's paper on why I chose different like accessories for the rover and that sort of stuff, and explain why I would build it this way. And that's what it is. And if they really like my final project, again, not high enough grades or they'll actually fly me out to one of their facilities where I'll get to spend 3 to 4 days with NASA scientists looking at stuff. So that's the next step after this.
That's super cool. Good luck with that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I'm a nerd.
Yeah. So actually, before we get too far off the topic of video games, I was at Walmart today picking up some drinks for the party we're going to tonight, and
Party of 3.
party of not a lot. It's, the weather has kind of put some people off of coming, and yeah, if you're listening to this and you didn't come to the party, shame on you. Anyway,
hate you
you know who you are. Anyway, jokes aside, I was waiting for my sister to text me that she was done with the meeting she's at because we were riding together. So I'm just chilling at Walmart, and I look in the video game section, like, you know, might as well see what they've got.
So you do stroll through there every now and then.
Oh, I love to buy video games. I just never play them. I have all kinds of AAA games. Arkham Knight, never touched it. Shadow of Mordor, barely played. I have all kinds of games that I got at bargain prices and then never play.
See, like, when I go to Walmart, I used to always go to the tech area and like just look at games for like. I used to spend like 20 minutes. I don't know how I spent 20 minutes just looking at games,
Right?
Because there's not that much there.
You're like,
but like
wow,
now, I'll just like
games.
I'll go for something. I'll be like, I'll stroll through there, and I like look, and I'm like, huh, this isn't as exciting as it used to be.
Yeah, you
This
look at
is
it and you're like, I could get all these cheaper on the internet.
Yeah.
And so that is actually where I was thinking today. So I'm looking at the video games, and one catches my eye. Pillars of Eternity 2 Deadfire. It's a role-playing game. If you made that game, I can't remember who you are, but please sponsor us. No free ads. And I was looking at it, I was like, oh, cool, that's a fun game. I've played the first one and, like, enjoyed it. Haven't beat it. To be honest, I played like 2 hours of it and was like, neat, and then never touched it again because I forgot about it. My Steam library, exhaustive and exhausting. But, so I was like, oh cool, how much is this for? $10. I was like, that seems like a good price. I pull it up. It is currently $50 as a digital download on Steam and $10 as a physical copy at Walmart. And the physical copy just has a Steam key inside.
Yep.
It was like, so I couldn't pass that up. I bought that. Thanks, Walmart.
But you never have time to play games.
Correct. So it will sit in my Steam library untouched for...
See, so I
have figured out why I'm poor.
I spend more time just like researching ways to upgrade my PC. Luke, and conversely, spends his time just like finding games and buying them and never actually playing them.
Oh, but they're so cheap.
It's like, oh, this is a good deal.
He's a bargain hunter for games.
When you retire, though, you will have so many hours of video games to just sit back and play.
I mean, ideally, this podcast makes us so much money, we're all retired by 30.
I mean, good luck
Right,
with that.
yeah, that's not happening.
But
It was just an awkward silence.
speaking of that, before we start to wrap things up, one thing that I'd like for this podcast is to actually like generate like obviously generate a following, but kind of become like have its own like standalone brand. Not necessarily like a brand
Buy
of
our merch.
like, but like. I mean, I want it to be something to be like, experimental reality. I've seen their videos. I've listened to their podcasts. Like, something, like, standalone like that. I feel like we can definitely make it, especially with the help of the audience, and hopefully the dedicated following that we get.
Which is you.
So,
please, subscribe to us on Spotify.
Hit the like button
whatever
down
you're
below
listening.
on
Yeah,
YouTube.
Everything. Just do everything.
Except hit the dislike button.
Yeah, don't
hit the dislike.
do everything else.
was it 5 stars on iTunes?
Hit that 5-star.
Rate us 5 stars on Reddit, give us an upvote on YouTube, and smash that save button on Spotify.
Doing great. Download us, share us with your friends, but don't let them listen on your device because that doesn't count as extra views. Make them listen on their own device.
If you like this podcast, share it with your friends. If you don't like this podcast,
share it with your enemies so that they have to suffer along with you.
Yes.
Well, boys, it has been great talking to you. I've had fun. I think this podcast is off to a great start. Thank you both for the work you've put in over the past week and the work you'll continue to put in on the future. Past couple weeks.
Mine's
This has
been a
been
couple days.
Yeah.
But that's everything I do.
The proprietor of procrastination. Thank you.
Hey, this has been
And
probably
Josh.
almost a month in production, hasn't it?
Yeah, it's been an
it's
idea
ready.
floated. I know it's always something we've always all considered doing, and working together,
Yeah,
we're making the
just
dream a
fun.
reality. An experimental reality. That said, thank you for listening to Experimental Reality. We'll be back next week with more experimental comment. Experimental Reality is executive produced by me, Luke. Our multimedia coordinator is Cheyenne. General managered by Josh. You can find us at Experimental Reality on Spotify, YouTube, iTunes, Google Play Music, and Podbean. If you want to get in touch with us, email us at experimentalrealitypodcast@gmail.com or connect with us on Twitter at experimentalre1. Thanks once again for spending time with us. We hope to hear from you, and we'll catch you again next week in this experimental reality. Leave that last part in there.